Broadcasting. If you don't mind, we've got the camera there, so you record it. Yeah, that's fine. That's in there. Yeah. You can not sit in front of the camera.
Oh, yeah, probably not.
How's the audio going to be without? We'll have a big audience.
I can hear you. It's picking you up. It'll be a little bit quiet.
So we use the
Who's got the laser?
There's going to be one more minute. We've got Rob Stevenson, our campus coordinator, out there for himself, last and red. He can't
That's the order, Eddie. Sorry? That's the teams. That's the order. Do you want to also?
So good evening, everyone. Yeah, absolutely. First of all, welcome to the Trobe University. To the students, welcome to your own campus. Or Rob, welcome to your own campus. But we do have a few people from industry here today. And this is the first time that we're running something along these lines. So welcome to Ideas to Innovation. I'll say a few words about the subject itself for the people that are not aware of it. Some of you have interacted with it in the past. First of all, this subject was introduced as part of our new engineering degree. 2 years ago, we decided to refine how we do engineering. We wanted to put more creativity and more imagination in the engineering process, more design work. So M.Felicetti, who's standing up here in the red jumper, and I decided to look at how we could introduce a subject that would really accelerate the innovation process in engineering undergraduate degrees. Not an easy thing to do, considering that engineers like to immediately get their hands stuck into problem solving. So how do you stop an engineer from going to the solution immediately? Very difficult task. So what we did was we did a little bit of online research, and we actually came up with a few different approaches to doing this. And one of the approaches was really to stop students from even thinking about solutions, but really start thinking about problems. And then coming up with thousands of different ways of solving that problem before even selecting a particular solution. So our approach is a 5-step design process that was introduced by the Stanford University Design School. And we mixed that up with some of the other creative material that we found online. And we poured some of our own experiences into that whole design process. And voila, in the end, what we have is a subject called Ideas to Innovation. So it's a 12-week crash course on design for engineers and how to create things in the best possible way. So what we have today is the culmination of this 12-week design process. And we have 3 amazing student groups who have worked very, very hard throughout the semester. They've come up with some amazing ideas that I'm sure you'll be quite impressed with. Keep in mind, they are second-year students, so they are going through the discovery process in this degree as much as everyone else has. But our vision is that this subject itself will start the process, and that process will help these students evolve over the next 2 or 3 years to become more creative engineers as they enter the industry. They will be able to bring a level of creativity and imagination to businesses in Bendigo, Melbourne, Victoria, and Australia, and of course, even around the world, depending on who decides to go where. But the importance is to bring in young blood with new ideas and creativity into businesses in Bendigo. That's what we want to do. We want to accelerate discovery for companies in Bendigo. We want to change status quo, and you guys are part of that journey, which is very important for all of us. So what are we doing tonight? We're going to have 3 pitches from students back for their 4 minutes.
We can go 3 minutes.
3-minute pitches.
7 minutes.
Of course, we have a little bit of time for questions. And we're going to go through these very, very quickly. But what I really want to do is, after these pitches, we're going to have a little bit of networking outside, provide some feedback for the students. Again, I've said to some of the students, this isn't about judging you guys, even though we've got these marking sheets up here for everyone to get involved with. It's really about getting feedback for your ideas, discussing how they can be improved, because the people in this room have a lot of knowledge, and then taking that to the next level. Next semester, you'll be undertaking a subject called Engineering Enterprise, formerly known as Business Side of Engineering. And in that subject, you're going to learn how to build basic business structures around your innovation. So we don't want to crush you with, this is how you do design work, this is how you build a business all in one subject. You will learn how to do that in second semester. In third and fourth year in your degrees, you'll have the opportunity to then try and implement, right? Build something tangible, even though some of you already have. But really think about the solution and apply all of that technical engineering knowledge to build something tangible that can be tested in the marketplace, and maybe with one of these industry partners here, we'll be able to provide you with that mentoring and that whole process. So for our guests, we have a link up here for you guys. I hope you can see that link. Can everyone read that link up here? Yeah. So what we'd like you to do in this process is, as the students are pitching their ideas, we'd like you to provide some feedback to them using this link up here, the tiny URL. There are a few different criteria. You can put in a few comments, very important for the students, but also important for Matt and I, because we've gone through actually assessing the students in this process. For the students, you guys also have the opportunity to peer mark your fellow students. And I know some of you have said, we're just going to give them the best possible marks. Matt and I have been doing this for a while, and that's not the case. You guys are actually more critical than we are when you assess other people. In fact, you're very critical of Matt and I, so I expect you to be critical of your peers as well. Provide constructive feedback. It's very important for everyone's perspective. But the links are up here, so please jot them down on your phones, and we'll get the show started. So I'd like to call up Smart H2O as our first group to present. You guys don't have to use this microphone if you don't want to use this guy.
270,000 litres of water is used each year in Australian households. That's the equivalent of 5 backyard swimming pools. But for you and me, that's so hard to comprehend. And that's why we made Smart H2O. It connects you, the user, to view how much water you're using with this.
The problem is that water is cheap, and so users basically undervalue. We know the value of water in this form because we pay for it when we purchase it. We have competition, and there is also a value decision made at the time of purchase. When you're pouring water through the tap, the cost of the water and the use of the water are disconnected, and that's a problem. So another problem is that the availability of water changes over time. At the moment, the water storages in Bendigo are about 80%. At the same time last year, they were 40%. And on a 20-year average, the water is the storages are at 40% for the entire time. So saving water is also an important thing to do. But consumers are reactive, not proactive. And solutions cost money, and the solutions cost money, and cost is. So basically, what we need to do is we need to deliver a solution that will deliver value to all users in the system, and it will also deliver value to the users in the system, and it will also it will deliver value to the users in the system, and it will.
So how will we do this, guys? How will we connect this? We'll do it through this, a simple smart device. Now, nearly everyone in this room has a smart device, correct? You either have an iPhone, Samsung, iPad, iPod, yeah? So what we're going to do is create an app which will connect your house, your water, and through an app. So this will monitor things such as your water usage. So therefore, you might be able to say monitor your water usage on a monthly, weekly, yearly basis, and then you'll be able to compare this to other people in your community. So you'll be able to compare it to your neighbours, other people in your area, so you might be able to compare it to people in Gold Street, be able to compare it to people in Kangaroo Flat. You'll also be able to compare it to other people in your state. You'll also be able to do a water breakdown of your house, so you'll be able to see where you're using water the most. So that might be in your kitchen, your bathroom, your kids' bathroom, finally tell them to stop taking long showers, and that sort of stuff. So you can finally actually find out where your problem is in your house and how you're going to save water. We'll also bring billing into the future. So now you'll be able to pay your bills online and therefore pay straight to distributors like Cold and Water. This will allow you to pay online when you want to, so you don't pay them straight away. You won't have to wait for the paper to come or a simple email. You'll be able to see how much your bill's up to. We just stop using water so much, we can continue using it as well. We've also incorporated two other systems that we have, which is a grey water recycling system and a water reclaiming system, which again helps you save water. And finally, we also have a tips page, which have experts provide tips on how you can save water and how you can best make sure. Now, how are you going to be able to do this?
With the benefits associated with the Smart H2O system, we as a group decided that it was most effectively implemented on the state and federal level, whereby a legislation or law can pass that would mean that this system has to be implemented on all new businesses and homes throughout Victoria. This would lead to an increase of information gathered by the government, which would in turn help all stakeholders involved. Companies such as Trobe would have new data which would allow for further planning of the infrastructure. With water, users would gain financial benefit of knowing where their water's going and how much they're using. And the government would be able to reach out to a large number of voters who would happily take this law to pass. So we're going votes. I'd like to thank you all for listening to our presentation, and you're all on board with the future of water usage. So, any questions?
Hi guys, Palace. Probably the first question I have is, so where are you guys currently up to? Have you been in touch with Corbyn? Have you been in touch with the state and federal governments to discuss the idea?
Well, to start with, for Cold and Water, I was in touch with Amanda, who works with Cold and Water. She gave us this great idea about the app. Everyone at Corbyn wants some sort of app or system that you can actually pay online instead of having to pay a bill by paper like we've been doing for the last 50 years. They want technology to evolve in Corbyn. So that's pretty much where we're up to with Corbyn and on the higher levels. Jason can probably tell us a bit more about the council level.
Well, we did also speak to the council, and they gave us a position around the consumer, and they felt that there wasn't enough solutions available to fill this space, and they were looking for innovation to guide them forward. That was the responses that I got from them. We also spoke to the Bendigo sustainability group as well, BSG, and they were very keen on the concept, but given all the work in the area, they wanted us to focus on something that was at a higher level. And then when we discussed this earlier in classes, one of the specialists with us, he actually gave us a bit of feedback and surprised us if we don't think bigger. So we think it was to sleep each other higher. I think it would be.
Yeah.
So this idea sounds similar to Power Shop's business model, where you purchase, except the only difference I think is with that model, you purchase power ahead and or after, and then there's sort of a sale advertising when you buy the units and that kind of thing. Is that something you'd consider doing and rolling out for other water suppliers in Australia, or is it more about the usage statistics for the user than it's about the purchase interface?
It would be a combination of that. We work in businesses, we were talking about this, we sold by to end users and basically implemented in large scale developments, ideally. Basically, users get the value of knowing how their water's tracked. All this data is being collected by the vendor, who then can then sell it online, sell that product with value to stakeholders in the industry. So the vendor, it's kind of a multifaceted part to it. By being involved in the program, we're hoping that the consumers will get cost benefits or maybe discount or something like that will entice them to be involved, and then the vendor can maybe sell the house system itself and the applications at a lower price to get people on.
Have you, and one more question, I'll pass this on to someone else. Have you picked a technology, automation technology to implement this with, or are you just going to make it sort of multi-technology?
We were thinking about multi-technology, source, things like that, things like that. Trying to find some people on the market who already got technologies for water flow monitoring, things like that. Basically, trying to doing partnerships with them to get the technologies together.
Thanks, guys. Great presentation.
Any other?
Well, we've still got a little bit of time for a few more questions. Okay.
That's 4 minutes.
Thank you. Firstly, great presentation, great idea. You noted about going to government and statutory authorities, and they're probably notoriously slow for changing legislation. Did you look on the flip side of how else you might be able to roll this out by focusing on the consumer instead?
Yeah, we were thinking maybe just doing like a commercial sort of thing, like you just sell it to system, we sell it to land developers and that sort of stuff, and give them a selling point for the new. So give them a selling point for the new land development, so they might be able to say, our land development is able to save you this much water, so therefore they might be able to have a sort of difference, and that sort of thing. But then once we had Daniel from Aston, he said, he sort of gave us the same picture as the solar panels that got rolled out a few years ago. You know, basically as soon as the government pushed them through, there was like incentives and grants and that sort of stuff, everyone took them up. So you're sort of showing us that that could sort of make a bigger reach than if you sort of do it commercially. So always you've got time to get stuff into the market and that sort of thing. Once you do it through a federal level, it's a bit easier to market and bring it out. So that's probably our main sort of idea through it.
Shane.
Good presentation, guys. Shane from Taylor City, just with 2 quick questions. One is, when you're looking at the cost benefit analysis, have you considered the solar settings I mentioned earlier? Origin rolled out free live meter checks in your home to measure what's the output versus the input aspects. Have you considered looking at the data from that to see if it actually impacts the end user, to see if those cost benefits can be realised? That's the first question.
I'll give the microphone here. Maybe you guys can speak into that microphone there, just for the guys online.
What about the cost benefit side of water is really hard at the moment. And this first thought came from Colvin for me personally. So Amanda said to me about 8-10 years ago, if you can remember, we were in a drought and water's worth a lot in a drought. And at the moment, in the next 10 to 15 years, Bendigo's population is starting to grow rapidly. We're looking at double the population in the next 10 years. But there's no more infrastructure going into place in Bendigo for water storage. So when a drought hits in the next 10 years, which is very likely, a lot of people want to know where their water's going and how much water they're using. As for water saving, you can see on our app directly how much water you're using every single minute. So if you have a leaking tap or a broken pipe somewhere that's leaking a lot of water, when you're on a home, you can clearly see, oh, why is my house using 10 litres a second when I'm not even home? You know, you can find a leaking tap or something like that straight up, and the cost benefit from that would be substantial.
So the second question, so you answered directly. Thank you.
All right, any more questions? All right. This will be the last question.
Dave Brick from Tullus as well. Just wondering whether you've considered the cost of the rollout with infrastructure in mind, giving you a CAS model for this digital meters down for solar power and things like that. You know, anything up to $1,000 to go reconfigure a meter just to put solar panels in your house. You're going to have infrastructure you're going to have to deploy house by house, and it's going to be paying for that.
That's a great question. Yeah, that's a good question. We haven't really looked at it to that level. In the scope of the course, we were looking at the design process and initial costing. We talked about the costs of, say, the open source components to put together one system. So under $500, something like that. Someone mentioned to us that you would need to certify the system for billing purposes and for metering. So that hasn't really been factored in. Of course, that would make the cost higher. As far as the cost model goes, we're really looking to value at one end of the chain that is going to subsidise the costs at the bottom end of the chain. So basically, the vendor and the industry absorb it because it's a good idea to do, and basically so we try to push the cost of the rollout down. But you would need to roll it out to like 10, 20 houses or something like that to basically, just to serve, just to test it, a test proof of concept of it. And those are the sort of things we talked about. But anything further than that, we would have to investigate it further and cost it, which would probably be the next course of the so, really.
we can continue the chat after this particular session. So please join me in thanking the team again for this presentation. Well done, guys. Good job. I have to say this microphone's really crap. I want to invite Cybertrack up to present there. I believe you guys also have a full demonstration.
There is 600 million trips on public transport in Victoria every year. With an average trip length of 30 minutes, there's 300 million minutes every year. 34,000 hours every year wasted on public transport without connection to internet.
So why is that a problem? Wi-Fi technology has existed for the last 20 years, and Europe was the first pioneer to use this technology on trains. And France has been using it for the last 15 years. So why aren't we doing it? Simply because of two reasons. The first one, black spot. So the area around line tracks is mostly black spot, around 40%. So you can't get a reasonable reception area. Because of that, but telco companies aren't doing anything about it because it's simply not worth it for them. And secondly, V Lines last year made $675 million against a budget of $700 million. So they possibly can't afford the infrastructure because they are running the loss.
Now the solution is Cybertrack. Now if you turn your eyes to the screen, you'll see the interface that we propose will help pay for the Wi-Fi for Victorian commuters. Now when people connect to the Cybertrack through Wi-Fi, they're going to be prompted to see that. Now they will then select an ad to watch, and that is where the money is going to come from to pay for the service. Now you can see in the cash flow diagram that the money will go back into infrastructure to decrease some of the black spots. That's also been eliminated currently from, we'll speak about that in a moment, but also go to pay for the internet back to the providers. So we propose that a profitable free Wi-Fi service is a possibility for V-Line, Metro, and Eurotrans.
The impact of having access to Cybertrack is that it's increased productivity, especially for students who work as a life, as they can do their work while traveling on the train. And it gives, people can use it for entertainment, such as watching videos online or playing video games. And it gives local businesses the opportunity to advertise their products.
Thank you for listening. Please ask us any questions. We have more than we probably convey. Yes.
Questions? I saw Shane's hand go up.
G'day guys, great topic. Our customers have these sorts of issues as well. So I was curious, aside from using a standard telephony network for making your Wi-Fi setup, have you given consideration to ad hoc networks on the rail lines as they zip around and make up networks themselves, rather than putting in solid stations in various places around the track? It's a cost-cutting issue.
Yep. Let's use the mic, guys.
So I'll be honest and say I'm not an expert in this, but pretty much the infrastructure that we'll be using will be 4G and eventually 5G as that becomes available. So at the moment, the government's wanted this for a few years now. Back in 2014, they set aside $40 million for Wi-Fi services to become available on public transport. At the moment, that's only about a couple of months ago, halfway through our project, that was released by the state government, that they're using that money to build more towers in conjunction with the network providers, Telstra, Optus, Vodafone, etc. And the rest of that's going to be installing repeaters on the V-Line velocity train. So they will connect, the repeaters will connect to the cell towers. So we're using 4 or 5G. I'm not exactly sure what ad hoc it is.
Nice, okay. So what I'm aware of is the national rail system already has a slow rate built-in network for its signalling system and so forth. I suggest having a look at that network, and if you piggyback on that, you should be able to create an ad hoc network of trains to talk to themselves directly back to a server, rather than using a telephone system. It might be cheaper infrastructure. That's for next semester.
Yeah, next semester, or third year. All right, any more questions? You guys, yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Thanks. Just wonder if you're familiar with around London, it's quite common to see a cloud that comes up on phone, usually 20, 30, 40 Wi-Fi networks within the reach. You never have to pay for it, it's all free. And what the point of difference between your business model being compared to something like that?
So, good point. I was on the phone I was talking to different ministers. So I got in contact with the Office of the Minister for Innovation, Small Business and Trade. Through that, that led to a phone conversation with the Director of Big Free Wi-Fi. He said that's been an overwhelming success, and he's obviously been heavily involved in working with Beeline and the network providers on building more towers so that one day Wi-Fi and an inboard service will be commercially available. And he said, you're on the right track as well with this. This is something that's going to be happening very near in the future, probably by the end of 2018. The government's going to release a tender for this to be rolled out. Now, he pointed us in the direction of Link NYC. So that's in New York City. That's pretty much Cybertrack in New York City. But they've made a lot of money. They're very profitable and they're very successful. They've done it a little bit differently. They've laid down infrastructure, NBN, fiber optic cables, and they're now on selling that infrastructure to the equivalent of Telstra or whatever it is in the United States. So I don't know if they necessarily use advertising as much as what our model would suggest, but I know that there are a lot of other innovative ways to generate money and make it a free with no strings attached kind of thing. So
at the end of the day, it's probably advertising.
Yeah, so that's the other thing. Big data, you could on-sell all the information of where people are going online. Yeah, the other thing we kind of mentioned it, there might be an opportunity for small businesses to advertise more cheaply. So you could have information of through GPS, where the train is, where it's going, all the businesses that want to advertise on the train, like between where it's going, so small businesses can advertise directly to people who might buy their product or their service. So that is the thing that's got the Minister for Small Business, Innovation and Trade interested as well. So
small local businesses.
Yeah. So and that would work in. I mean, for example, if you were going from Bendigo to Melbourne on Beeline and you selected or maybe you selected finance, you'd see an ad from Bendigo Bank. It's simple algorithm software that would select what you might be interested in. And our studies show that people are a lot more receptive to advertising when it's about things they're interested in. So hence, give people a 10-second counter to choose what they have to watch.
Any more questions? If not, thanks you guys again for a great presentation. I didn't make a mistake. It's the last group that has a demonstration. They'll VR, right? They've got an extension in the name. I don't recall it having the VR attached to it. So change of company ownership or a merger acquisition.
How did you find the hazard perception test?
Did you have to travel to even sit the test? I know I thought it needed a bit of improvement. What would happen if the test's educational benefit meant the difference between life and death? We are Delve, and we're here to talk about the benefit of driver education. But first, let's outline the problem.
So I think it's safe to say that most of us here have had bad experiences in the road before, whether we've been in a car crash or almost been in one. Something you need to know is the stats. So in the last 5 years alone, on Victorian roads, it's been over 1,200 fatalities, and 31 of those occurred in Bendigo itself. So this number has increased exponentially in the last, say, 2 decades or so as our population's grown, and it's only going to get worse as our population increases. And so I think most of us have siblings, parents, or children, and we all think this can't happen to us. And we always think it's something that will happen on the news, but it can't happen to us, but it can. And so we've got to be careful of this, because we never know when it might happen. So for example, 3 years ago, there was a young woman who was driving a family back from Melbourne when she lost control of the car and went off the road. And in the accident, her parents and 2 siblings died in a crash. And so this could not be foreseen, and it's something we want to solve through Delve.
Delve is a virtual reality car simulator which mimics real-life driving situations. It provides young drivers with a taste of real driving situations without the danger. It will be an immersive 3D experience of a virtual world which we hope will map actual Victorian roads. There will be a simple points-based system, points will be awarded for excellent driving, safe driving, and nothing for driving. Delve will complement assistive testing that's currently done. So what will Delve check?
Delve uses virtual simulation. So this makes education fun and interactive. So what this means is that the user ends up with a greater memory retention of information. The system is also portable, so it can be taken to places like community centres, so it goes closer to the user. But more importantly, it provides the missing intermediate step between a perception test and the real thing. With all this in mind, one has to consider how much is a life worth. Thank you.
Guys, let's do some questions. All right, let's see who go first.
Great presentation. I think sometimes this is really long overdue, actually. I suppose I believe fear is a really effective motivator, and I love the idea that you think the problem's going to get worse. So, it's great that we're doing something about it. We've proposed to you that there's going to be a lot of self-driving cars on the road very shortly, and what that's going to do your business with.
Yeah, I'll be honest with that. We haven't looked at that point of view, but look, we identified that there is a big difference between the current perception test, which is just a look at the screen, click a mouse to select the right option, to being straight into a car. Yeah, I'm not sure how that works.
Can I help add some information to that one? So, very good point about driverless cars, and there are trend papers that are indicating that we'll have those cars on the roads very, very quickly. But I've also read some recent papers through the ITI that indicate that we're actually far from having autonomous vehicles dominating the roads. So it is an argument for and against. It's definitely going to impact the business model, but whether we're going to get there in 5 to 10 years or 20, 30 years, it's still yet to be determined. So you guys definitely need to think about driverless cars on the roads and how that's going to impact. Whether it's going to stop everyone driving, that's another question. And how ethics plays into it all becomes quite more complicated. But very good point. You need to start thinking about that.
I saw a whole bunch of hands up. I'll finish you guys later. So I'll get Matt first. Okay, so guys, I just want to know how long and what do you need to get an actual interactive prototype?
All the components exist. They've already been developed. The problem is integrating them all and gamifying the system, so to make it fun and interactive. So that requires virtual reality programming, which we would have to outsource to countries. You get it done in Asia for $15 to $50 per hour. And to develop a simple game in a virtual reality space, it costs anywhere between 8 to 10 grand. So to develop a further prototype, so a higher fidelity prototype, we're looking at probably 10 grand's worth of investment.
Okay, so how many driving games are out on the market now? So virtual driving games
On the simulation.
that follow just in existence at the moment. So
I don't know the exact number, but I know the Samsung company has over 100 apps on driving games, and you can also download a multitude of them from the web.
So how is this different? How do you prevent this program from entering into that same area of the market, which I think is actually a real danger? So because it becomes a challenge then to overcome. So people walk away with, yes, it's fun, it's interactive, but what are they actually walking away with? Like it takes a lot away. I don't see how it's going to actually affect their actual driving skills. Yes, we need something in place, definitely, but I'm concerned about it entering into the same space as driving games, as car chases, the stimulations that are already on the market, that are already dominating the market to a large extent.
So it's going to be based on we hope actual Victorian roads. That's what the difference is. So you can drive on real roads and real situations. We've identified, we've got a big massive list of high crash prone areas around Bendigo from big roads. And so those type of intersections will be programmed into it. So it provides real life driving situations rather than just the game where you can go around the corner or whatever. These are real intersections, these are real byway roundabouts in Bendigo. That's what the difference is.
Do that though on an international level. A lot of the games will actually do that. So you can actually drive in particular cities with streets and everything all set up to be intersections and everything else. So that is in play.
Yep.
Okay, so just something to consider. A lot of countries, but it's just something to consider. You need to look at taking it beyond that game level to make it reality.
Yep.
Very good, good presentation, gents. So I do a lot like the idea how you've localised it to local roads, provide that real life experiences if you're driving Bendigo, which are also just with adaptation and potential other uses. Have you looked at other industries? You're setting up something quite good here, but could it be adapted to other sectors, mining or farming? Have you looked into that further?
We have considered the sporting industry, so extreme sports, so snowing and water skiing, that of the like, so you could have a sort of a level of training before they actually attempt the sporting activity. They could do it in a virtual reality safe environment, which would be similar to the driving aspect that we're trying to get to.
Okay, so just working with what the two commentators said already, I do have a concern that you might be pushed out by additional upgrades to GTA and so forth. But where I think you should be having a look at that could make you some serious money. If you can use commercial systems that keep it below about $5 grand a year, and check out the mines and pits, especially South America, you can export to there, you'll make a fortune because their drivers has to be certified. There's no way you can get a plane with a mining truck. But they're just here at the moment for the equivalent. It's probably 10, 15 years old and costs 50 to 100 grand a year. So if you get your costs down, there's no market.
Thank you.
Awesome. Any more questions or comments? All right, in that case, please join me in thanking our third and last team.
We'd also like to welcome down anyone to, we've got a visual example on the simulator that we'd like to invite people to come down and view the mic afterwards.
So what I'm going to do now is, in conclusion, I think you have a little bit of time to go through and actually give the students some marks. If you haven't, I might give you a minute or two, especially the students, to peer mark each other. Yes. Just in case. I'll just give you a moment to click through them and assess the students.
Okay, so that's not high enough for example. Low res. Low res. Probably soft. Yeah, we still do that. Yeah, there's about 14 people watching. They're still watching. It's all right. Did many people watch on the stream? About 14. Yeah.
Been directed to this. Put in your student number and your team name.
No, so one per team. So all the student numbers.
Yeah.
So once you've finished up and you've provided some feedback, what we're going to do is, we can't finish the unit without doing group solving, so we're going to get everyone to the front here. Unless someone prefers to be taking photos rather than being in the photos. But we'll do a solving for everyone. So once you've done what you need to do, come to the front. We'll get everyone up the front here and do a group shot. They got the Bendigo campus webpage right on. Already on the Twitter page. Are you ready? Yeah. Better be on social media.
Is there anything else you want to say, or can we close that down?
No, we can close it up.
Really? Yeah. There should be a guest. What?